Hello, and welcome to the 21-22 Fafsa demonstration for dependent students. I will be walking you through step-by-step how to complete the Fafsa using test information. To begin with, please go to www.studentaid.gov website, as can be seen on the screen. You will click under Apply for Aid on Complete the FAFSA form. When this page loads, you will click on Returning User Login. I will now be changing my screen to show you the test demonstration information. One moment. Once you have clicked to log in, you will see the screen that will ask you if you are the student or the parent. You will click that you are the student, and you will then log in with your FSA ID. Your FSA ID is your email address or username and the password that you created for the FAFSA. If you do not remember your password or your username, you can click the Forgot Username or Forgot Password links and reset them through security questions. If you have not created one, you can click on the link to create one. You, the student, and one parent will be required to have your own unique FSA IDs. This will bring you to a disclaimer page that you will click Accept on. It will then load the 21-22 FAFSA, and you will click Start. We will do a renewal, and that way it will pull through information from any previous FAFSA you have submitted. If you have never submitted a FAFSA before, it will only say Start New FAFSA. The FAFSA will ask you to create a save key in case you have to save the FAFSA and save your progress and come back to it at a later time. You can use any information you would like to create the save key, such as your date of birth or zip code. You are required to create a save key before you can continue to the next step. The next step will be instructions on how to complete the FAFSA that you can review or you can click Next on. Then the FAFSA will pull through what it knows about you based off of your FSA ID information, such as your social, your name, and date of birth. Again, this is dummy or test information and not a real student's social name or date of birth. Review that the information is correct and then click Next. Confirm that your email is correct and enter your telephone number in the system. It will then show you your home address that you can verify is correct and hit Next. It will ask you your state of legal residence, and if you became a resident of that state before January 1st, 2016. If you were to click no to this question, it will say, when did you become a resident of that state? And you can put in the correct month and year that you moved to the state of your legal residence. You can click if you are a citizen or if you're an eligible non-citizen. And click Next. The next question it will ask is what your high school completion status is. If you have your diploma, GED, or homeschool certificate, you will select the appropriate one for that question. The next question is asking you what type of degree you will be working on in the upcoming school year. You can pick associate's degree, or that you'll be transferring with an associate's degree or bachelor's degree, really whatever degree program you believe you'll be working on. It will then ask if you already have a bachelor's degree when you begin the upcoming 21-22 school year. We'll say no to this question. Then it asks what level of college you will be in when you begin the upcoming 21-22 school year. From the drop-down menu, you can choose whichever option is best for you, such as never attended college, aka you're in your first year, or you've attended college before, but you are still a first year, or you are second year and above. For this demonstration, we will say that this student has never attended college. Then it will ask if you're interested in being considered for work study. Work study is working a part-time job on campus. These positions are typically in offices or working with professors. If you qualify for work study funds, you will be paid for the hours that you work, and the money will come from the Department of Education. If you do not qualify for work study, you will not have this offered to you. We're going to say that we are interested in work study. This does not mean we are guaranteed a job. It simply means that there may be funding available for us if we choose to become employed on campus. Then it asks if you are male or female. If you are male, it will ask if you have been registered with the Selective Service System. All males 18 years and older are required to register with Selective Service System at www.sss.gov. In this case, this student is a female. Enter in your driver's license information on this screen. And click Next. The next question asks if you are currently in the foster youth system or have ever been within the foster youth system since turning the age of 13. We will say no to this question for this student. If you have been in the foster care system and you marked yes to this question, please contact the financial aid office of the college you are attending, as they will need additional information from you regarding your status in foster care. It will then ask the highest level of school completed by your parent. You can say middle school, high school, college, or unknown for both parents, both parent 1 and parent 2. We will discuss who parent 1 is and who parent 2 is later in this demonstration. Then it will ask you the name, city, and state of your high school. You can enter in that information here. The next section is asking you where you would like to send your FAFSA to which college so they can receive it to determine your financial aid. You can contact the school that you're interested in to ask them their school code for the FAFSA. EPCC school code is 008896, and then you will click search. It then finds the school, and you will put a check mark in the box that you would like to add to your FAFSA. If you would like to add more schools, such as UCCS or anywhere else, you can do that by clicking Add More Schools. We will just say next for this demonstration. It will then ask you to pick your housing plans for the upcoming year, such as on campus, with parent, or off campus. We will say that this student is living with their parent. As a community college, PPCC does not offer dorms. This is asking about the student information. Please be sure to note at the top of the page whether it is asking about student or parent information. This student is currently single as of today. This student also does not have children that they support themselves and do not have any other dependents such as grandma or uncle that the student themselves is supporting. We will say next. Then it will ask if you've ever had any of this information. If you are currently active duty in the armed forces, if you are a veteran of the armed forces, if any time since you turned the age of 13, if both parents were deceased, you were in foster care or a dependent or ward of the court. If it was determined by court that you are an emancipated minor, or if someone other than your parent has legal court-ordered guardianship of you. In this student's case, we are going to mark none of the above. If you have any of these unique circumstances that apply to you, you would want to select the option that most closely matches your selection, and then contact your school's financial aid office as they will need additional information to confirm this status. We'll then ask if on or after July 1st, 2020, you were homeless or at risk of being homeless. Homeless is considered if you stayed at a homeless shelter or other type of shelter or halfway house. We will say no for this student situation. Given the previous answers, this student is considered a dependent student. You are considered a dependent student and parent information is required until you are one of the following: 24 years old as of January 1st, married, have a child of your own that you are supporting or other legal dependents as ordered by the court, or if you are in the military or a veteran of the military, excluding the National Guard or Army Reserves. Until you are one of those things, parent information will be required on the FAFSA, even if you do not live with them and even if they do not give you any financial support or claim you on their taxes. In this case, we will provide information about parent, so we will click next. In this case, the student's parent is married as of 1999. The parent on the FAFSA should be the parent you currently live with and receive support from, or the parent you have most recently lived with or received support from, and whoever that person is married to. This may or may not be both biological parents. So the marital status question of your parent is the parent on the FAFSA and whoever they are married to, which may or may not be biological parents. It will then ask for the first parent's information. It does not matter which parent you decide to be parent 1 and parent 2. You will provide your parent's full social security number, last name, first initial, parent's date of birth, and parent's email address. Mail.com. And say next. You will enter your parent email information twice. The second parent will have the same information provided, the social security number, last name, first initial, and date of birth. Again, this is test demonstration information and not someone's real social security number or name. You will list your parents' state of legal residence, answer whether or not they've been a resident of that state since before January 1st, 2016, and provide information about when they did become a legal resident of that state. The household size is your parents and yourself, and then any other siblings that live in the household. We will say there are 2 additional siblings to the student. Then it will ask if other people live with your parents that your parents support financially, such as grandparents or uncles or aunts. In this case, we will say this family does not have other persons living in the house beyond the parents and the siblings. So there are a total of 5 people in the house, the 2 parents, the 1 student, and the 2 siblings. Of these 5 people in the household, we will say that the student is the only person going to college, so we will put a number 1 for number in college. If any of the siblings were also in college, we would count them as the number of college and say there are 2 people in college, the student and their sibling. We'll then say next. This is now asking about parent financial information. It's very important that you note whether or not it is asking for parent information or student information, and to not get those 2 items confused. This is asking for parent information and asking if they filed 2019 taxes. This FAFSA requires 19 tax information for both the student and the parent. We will say that this parent has already completed their taxes. They filed a 1040 tax return, as most persons in the US do, and that they filed as married filing jointly since they have been married since 1999. If you have had a marital status change between the tax year that the FAFSA is asking for and your current situation, please contact your school's financial aid office as additional information will be needed. The FAFSA will ask you if you would like to use the IRS data retrieval tool. The data retrieval tool is a way to connect to the IRS and pull through the tax information. Tell you that you are leaving the FAFSA on the web, and you will say, okay. It will then pop up a box that will tell you that the information you're about to see is for authorized use only through the IRS, and you will click OK. It will then provide you with information showing you about your taxes, but what it wants from you is the exact street address, city, state, and zip code that as it appears on your parents' taxes. You will enter that information and say submit. It will then provide you with a page to select that you would like to transfer your information from the IRS directly into the FAFSA. If you used the IRS data retrieval tool, it would pull through information from the IRS into your FAFSA for you directly. I am choosing not to use the IRS data retrieval tool in this demonstration, so I will say no thank you. The FAFSA will then tell you exactly the line item it would like you to look at the taxes to find the information it is asking about if you were unable to use the IRS data retrieval tool. In this case, it is asking what your parents' adjusted gross income was for 2019, and that this can be found on the IRS 1040 form for 2019 on line 8B. We will say that this parent's joint adjusted gross income was $50,000. The adjusted gross income will not normally be an even number such as that, but this will be used for demonstration purposes. Because these parents filed as married filing jointly, it wants to know how much parent 1 made in 2019 and how much parent 2 made in 2019. We will state that parent 1 made $20,000 and that parent 2 made $30,000. Again, these are just numbers I'm making up for demonstration purposes. We'll then ask the amount of the income tax paid in 2019. This will be on line 1040 on the IRS form 1040, line 14, minus anything listed on a Schedule 2. Your parent may or may not have a Schedule 2. If your parent does not have a Schedule 2, you will simply enter in the amount listed on line 14. The next section still is referring to the parent information for 2019. The first question is asking if there is combat pay above and beyond the adjusted gross income. This is typically not the case for combat pay, but if you have questions about whether or not the combat pay your parent received was above and beyond the adjusted gross income, you can contact the financial aid office of the school you will be attending, and they can assist you with this question on the FAFSA. The next question is asking if there was college grant and scholarship aid reported to the IRS from the parent's income. This would be listed on their tax return. Unless your parent is in college, this will likely be 0. We'll ask additional questions such as any education credit from lines 3 of Schedule 3 of your parent's tax return. Again, unless your parent is also in college, there will likely not be any information, and this can be left as 0. If there are any untaxed portions of IRA distributions and pensions, you can look at line 1040, lines 4A plus 4C minus 4B plus 4D. If it is a negative number, you will leave this as a 0. If there were any IRA deductions and payments to self-employed and other qualified plans from Schedule 1, lines 15 and 19 combined, you would list that on the next line. Any tax-exempt interest income from line 2A of the 1040 would be listed on the last section of this page. If your parent does not have any information for this FAFSA for any of these fields, you can just leave them as 0s and click Next. We'll then ask if your parents paid any child support in 2019. You would list the entire yearly amount of any child support paid in 2019 by your parent or your parent's spouse. If your parent participated in a co-op program at their college, they would need to list any earnings from that program in the next line. And then the final line would be any earnings from need-based employment, such as work study. That would be listed on the third line. Again, if your parent does not have any of these items, you would just list as 0 and click Next. Then it will ask if your parent received any child support in 2019. You cannot count foster care or adoption payments as child support received. Again, you would list the entire yearly amount for 2019 of any child support your parent received. If your parent is in the military or a member of the clergy and receives items such as food assistance from the government or clergy, you would list the yearly amount of food assistance received in 2019. For military families, this would mean the yearly BAS amount. BAH, the housing allowance, is not counted on the FAFSA. However, BAS, food assistance, is counted. Again, you would count the yearly amount. If there were any payments to any tax-deferred pensions or retirement savings plans, you would list that yearly amount there that your parent paid. You would not include any amounts recorded as a DD on your parent's 2019 W-2 form. If your parent is a veteran and receives non-educational benefits such as VA disability, we need to know the amount of VA disability received in 2019 for the entire year. You would list the amount here. If there was any other untaxed income that has not been previously reported, such as workers' comp, you may list that item there. Again, the yearly amount for 19 for your parent, and click Next. We'll then ask if your parent's assets exceed a certain amount of funds. In this case, we'll say this parent's assets do not exceed this amount. Assets are things such as stocks, bonds, CDs, investments, properties other than the property that you live in as your house. Now the FAFSA has moved on to ask about the student's financial information. Again, it is very important to note if the FAFSA is asking about student or parent information. For student information, we will state that this student did not file taxes in 2019. Because there's no taxes, we do not need to link to the IRS data retrieval tool, and we will say Next. Although the student did not file taxes in 2019, we will say that they did earn about $500 as a lifeguard over the summer in 2019. This amount is below the IRS threshold to be required to file taxes, so it's fine that they did not file taxes but earned money. If you did not file and did not have wages, it's fine to list 0 for the wages. However, if you didn't file and did receive wages in 19, we will need to know the amount of wages you received for the entire year of 2019. Then it will ask similar questions to what it asks of your parent. But this is asking if you, the student, personally paid any child support, if you earned any wages from a co-op program through college, or if you had any earnings from a need-based program such as federal work study. We will say the student did not have any of those and say Next. We'll then ask if you, the student, personally received child support. This would not be if a parent was paying child support on your behalf to your other parent. This would be if you, the student, were receiving child support for your own dependent student. Same is true for the question about housing food benefits from the military or clergy, tax-deferred pension plans, veteran non-educational benefits such as disability, and any other untaxed income not previously reported. All of these questions are in reference to the student, so these will likely be all zeros in your case. Then it will ask, as of today, what is your total balance of checking, cash, and savings that you have on hand? We're going to say the student has $200 in the bank. We'll then ask for the net worth of investments, including any real estate, but not your primary residence. We will state that this student does not have any assets. It is important that you put a 0 in and do not simply leave this question blank. The last question on this page is asking about the net worth of any businesses or farms with 100 or fewer full-time employees. The student does not own any businesses or farms, so we will put a 0. Again, please do not leave blank. We will then say Next. After you answer the information about your bank information, you should see this page that will ask you if you are a preparer. A preparer is someone that you are paying to help you prepare the FAFSA, so you are not the preparer. As a reminder, the FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, and you should never pay anyone to help you complete the FAFSA. Financial aid advisors at all colleges are available to help you complete the FAFSA even if you do not attend their college. Please do not pay anyone to help you complete the FAFSA. Then you can click Next. The FAFSA will then show you a recap of all the questions you have previously answered and what your answers to each of those questions were. You can review that you have entered everything correctly for yourself and your parent financial information, and student financial information. At the very bottom of this page, you will click Next. Both you and your parent will be required to sign the FAFSA as you are a dependent student. You will click to provide the student signature. There is a disclaimer regarding financial aid and that you must be using the money for school. You must be in good standing with the school to be able to continue to receive aid, that you're not on any defaults on any federal student loans, and that you understand you can only get financial aid from one school at a time. I encourage you to read this important information as you are stating that you agree you have not given any misleading information on the FAFSA, as you may be fined up to $20,000 or sent to prison or both for falsifying information on the FAFSA in attempt to defraud the Department of Education for federal student financial aid. We'll click that we agree to these terms and that we are not lying about anything and say Next. We will then use the blue box to click Sign the FAFSA. It has now used our FSA ID to sign the FAFSA electronically. For your parent will need to sign as well. You will click to provide parent signature. It will show you who is a parent 1 and who is parent 2. Only one parent needs to have an FSA ID to be able to sign the FAFSA. Your parent will also agree that all of their information is correct and true, and say agree and say Next. And then your parent will be required to sign in with their FSA ID, email, and password. As this is a test demonstration information, I will not be providing this information. If your parent does not have a social security number to be able to create an FSA ID, you can click Other Options to sign. You can click to print a paper signature page and say Next. It will want you to still do the FSA ID because that is a faster way to do it. However, if your parent does not have a social security number to be able to create an FSA ID, you will need to click Print Signature Page. This will provide a page that you can print that will have a barcode on the top of it and will contain other information in an area where your parent can sign. You should provide the copy of the paper signature page to the financial aid office of the school you will be attending, as well as mailing the paper signature page to the address that is printed on the form. It is very important that you provide the financial aid office of the school you will be attending with a copy of the paper signature page so they can attach it to your FAFSA. Once you have printed the paper signature page and your parent has signed it, or your parent has logged in with the FSA ID and signed it electronically, you can click to submit your FAFSA. Again, as this is demonstration information, I will not be submitting the FAFSA. You will see a confirmation page that says you submitted the FAFSA. I will give you information on what will happen next, and it will tell you a general idea of the type of aid you may be eligible for, such as Pell Grant funds and direct student loans. Once you submit your FAFSA online, it typically takes 3 to 5 business days for the central processing office to process your FAFSA and send your FAFSA to the school or schools that you listed on your FAFSA to receive your FAFSA. You should then follow up with your school's financial aid office to see if there's additional information needed to be able to determine your financial aid eligibility. Thank you so much for your time.